Hello, Beth the Builder here in my acreage where I have projects on projects on projects. So, just a forewarning, I'm not editing any of this anymore. I don't have friggin' time for that. So, you're gonna just come along with me on this quick and dirty drywall mudding, texturing video, okay? So, couple things. I did my research on the internet as to the best of my ability with a small child and an acreage of projects, and also like I have to like take a shit still and make food and probably don't want to live in squalor. Okay, so there's stuff going on, and but I was like, no, I need to do my research because I've never textured walls. That's like C. But A, I don't know how to repair plaster walls because our current house, they've been like re-plastered. They're in very good condition. Here, not so much. So, I have to put it out there that honestly, we're really lucky that like in 80-90% of the house, it's all in pretty good shape. It's not like just like falling off the walls and ceilings. The kitchen is drywall. Yeah, it's drywall, so some of that's being repaired. But the upstairs bedroom, stairwell, like I don't know, 60-70% of the house is plaster. Original plaster, okay? You can see the horsehair in the edges where it's crumbled, which I think is really cool, okay? So, it's like history. Cool. So, I did some research and it said if you have plaster walls, you should just use plaster. Okay. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll try it. Because that's what stuff says. It's like, you're a friggin' moron if you don't use plaster on your plaster house. And I was like, okay, geez. Like, cool your jets, internet. But everyone's got opinions about everything nowadays. So, I went and I bought the one bag of plaster that Lowe's had. And I was like, okay, bring it out to my acreage. Attempt 1, went okay. Attempt 2, went more poorly. Attempt 3, why am I using this? Like, as I went, it's like, because I got a bag of the pit mix that I have to add water to. As I went, it actually got harder and harder and harder to use as I was like mixing a next batch. Maybe because my bucket was dirty. That was a mistake. Clean your tools and your bucket. But then even when I had cleaned everything and did it again, I had the same problem where it seemed like, this is what was happening, it was drying crazy quickly. Like literally I was like mixing it and then trying to get it on the walls, and within like 10 minutes it was already like hardening on my trowels, and I was like, what's up with this? So I did some research about that, and it was like, maybe it's too hot. Well, it is summer, okay? It's 1,000 degrees out. There's no like air circulation really in the house besides like some broken windows. So yeah, it was like that could cause it. Maybe your water was too warm. You want to use like cooler water. And I was like, okay, maybe all of these things are affecting it and making it go poorly. No. I tried it again and like 4 times, and it just kept like hardening like so fast. So I like pivoted, and I had read things that it was like, don't worry, you could just use drywall mud on your plaster walls because it's a modern what's the word I'm looking for? It's a modern like product, so like it's gonna be okay to use on your plaster walls because it adheres to walls as long as they're clean and dry and not dusty. So I bought a bucket. Currently, this is what I bought: the green lidded all-purpose drywall mud. So I pivoted and I was like, fuck this plaster, okay? Sorry, I'm just not messing around with this. Do you know how many projects I have to do out here? We have like a bajillion things to do, which is awesome and also intimidating. But I can't be messing around with free plaster drying after 10 minutes. So, pivoted. Just word of the wise. Try your hand at plastering, I guess, but maybe that's why they leave it to professionals, and maybe why they don't use it anymore. Because what are we doing, okay? I mean, I'm all for like sticking to the original and all this. People have been like, hey, are you gonna tear out all the lathe and plaster? And I'm like, no, are you crazy? Like, that's so much work. Also, that's just making things more and more dirty and more work. No, we're not doing that, okay? Especially because now, all of that like farmhouse, rustic, chic stuff has come back of like people like that. And you just have to embrace the imperfections if you're going to buy a not new house. Not, I mean, even a house that wasn't built in the last 50 years. You have to embrace 60 years, 70 years. Yeah, over 40 years. You have to embrace the imperfections and the weird things that are going on in this house. Like this weird door. What the fuck? What? It's to the crawl space, like attic area, but it's scary. So, try your hand at plaster if that's what you really want to do. I would go for it. I'm not gonna like tell anybody that they're wrong for trying to do that. Maybe I'm just being a dummy. Maybe it's too hot here. I don't know. Maybe I was over mixing it, but then I mixed it less, so I don't know. But this is the third bucket of drywall compound that I've used. And you can see, look, I've done 3/4 of this room, okay? This is the old plaster, new textured, okay? Because I'm all for like leaving the walls as imperfect and etc. as you can, but they look like this, okay? And the plaster is like rough in some places. Like I've had to fill a lot of holes, and then the only way to really make it work so that you don't have like 1,000, like if I just painted this wall, it would just, you could just see all the places where I patched and where the original plaster texture is really rough. So this room was all covered in wallpaper, as is the downstairs bedroom is wallpapered, which I'm not taking that wallpaper off, okay? We're just patching it and we're gonna do something cool in there. But the other bedroom up here, we're just gonna retexture it because the plaster is rough and it's gonna like sap moisture out of the paint. It's gonna take a lot of paint. So this is what we have chosen to do. I think it is the way to go, okay? And guess what? One bag of plaster was like $20 and a bucket of pre-mixed drywall mud is $20, okay? So I'm really not out anything. Plus, they don't have to fuck around with mixing bags of powdery mix. Maybe if you're a professional, you have the consistency that you like. I don't feel that way. I just want to like start solving problems and do the thing. So let's do the thing. Just kidding. There's 3 more steps you have to do. Step 1, get all the dust off your walls, okay? Take a brush, a broom, whatever, and sweep all the dust out of all of the holes, cracks, etc. of your plaster walls, because you want it to get to the lathe, especially with big holes, as quickly as possible. Like you want to get that new product, that new mud, plaster, whatever, you want to get it up against the lathe. You don't want it sitting like on like crumbly shit that's just gonna crumble again. Okay, so we did that downstairs, up here, closet, etc. We did all that. Second thing, plaster buttons. Okay, I got like 300 of them for $9, okay? So these are little plaster, they're little metal buttons like this. Those like this, they're concave, convex, whatever. You can see that. And I used 2-inch screws, just whatever screws, okay? They were like, I've used the entire box for miscellaneous things. 2-inch screws to then secure them to the plaster. You kind of want to go on like this, either side of the hole or the crack. This is a hole and a crack going down. So, and you can feel it when the screw bites into the lathe, and if it doesn't, it'll just punch through into the plaster, and it doesn't, you can just like pull it out with your finger basically, depending on how crumbly your plaster is. So that is step 2. Step 3 is I got this stuff. Okay, this is PVA bond. Okay, and it says on the back about what you're going to use it for, etc. And what I did and what I had read for plaster walls is to dilute it 1 part this to 4 parts water and brush it on all the cracks, holes, crumbly bits, etc. after you've cleaned it, after you've plaster buttoned it, to really create like a good surface for your new product, drywall mud, plaster, whatever the heck you're going to use, to adhere to it. And I gotta say, like, I think it's making a big difference, like, because I haven't had any problems now that I've like gotten this down in getting the drywall mud to adhere. If anything, it adheres too well. No, that's not a problem. So secondly, when this is like pre-mixed, it's so much easier to use because you don't have to mess around with like the consistency of it. It just comes pre-mixed. And I think that's just the way to go. And maybe in the future I'd be like, that was stupid. No, I don't think so. I think this is just the way to go. Get it pre-mixed, and what was my point? Whatever, it doesn't matter. So that is the way to go with that. Clean it, plaster buttons, and then your adhesive. And that dries within, I don't know, a couple hours maybe, but I would do it and then leave for the day and then come back when I could to then adhere, to then put the drywall mud on. So that is the steps that I have done. And what we've run into obviously is, yeah, that there's no way of patching all these holes and also like then covering the buttons and stuff like that without just like basically doing the whole wall, because I'm not going to smooth, like skim coat 2/3 of this house. That's not happening. Also, like, they're old 120-year-old walls. You have to embrace what they are, which is imperfect. And that's where I looked at different like texturing patterns for drywall comes. No, drywall doesn't, no, forget that. Okay, so drywall, comes flat and then people texture it. But there's like this vague trend, of like you want perfectly smooth walls. Why? Okay, why? Why does it matter? So then you get people like skim coating, like all the professionals, skim coating like the joints and stuff like that of drywall. I'm not gonna do that. Again, I don't care about my walls being perfectly smooth. We have to embrace this project, which is imperfectness. So, I don't know if you can see it. Maybe it's easier to see at an angle, kind of. I don't know, it's really hard to see. But, yeah, you can kind of see it. Yeah. Okay, so I looked at various textures of drywall compound, texturing walls, whatever. And there's like orange peel, because you can buy texture for walls. Orange peel texture and knockdown and bark and whatever the different names of them are. Look up drywall textured walls and patterns, So people have lots of ideas of how to do it, with a sponge, with a notched trowel, with a brush, with a letting it kind of like put it on the wall, and then you let it kind of start to set, and then you run like a certain tool through it to get like a whatever pattern it is that you're looking for, or texture that you're looking for. I don't care. Like, I don't care what these walls are textured like. It does not matter to me at all. So I went with, it was like under kind of like Venetian plaster type of textured walls. I don't really know if that's technically what it is called, but it was kind of a form of like knockdown troweling. So we're gonna do like a rough, quick and dirty little setup here. Let me get all my stuff out. So it really helps to have like a big strong man around to carry things up these stairs. So yeah, get one of those. It's really useful. This one's only partially full because I used it downstairs first, but still very, very heavy. So that's where that comes in handy. So yeah, it's not recommended to dip your trowels into your bucket as you're doing it, because you could get debris and dust and stuff in your whole bucket, and then it's going to start to compromise like the whole bucket, which is just a waste. So you can get special trays. I've just used cardboard, and then I just throw it away because I'm doing this so in chunks of time, like I'll do it for like 2 hours or 3 hours or something, and then come back in a few days. And I'm not going to mess around with like cleaning paint trays or a metal tray or something, because it doesn't matter to me. So I've used just cardboard, and sometimes I'll set up 2 to then just keep going, but I haven't done that recently because it's 1,000 degrees and then I don't want it to set too quickly. But that's what I've done. Do whatever you want to do. If you want to go spend a bunch more money on dumb trays, you can. Same with trowels. So this is the trowel that I've been predominantly using. I also have like a 5-inch little one, and then like a 3-inch and a 1-inch for different things. Moderate thermal throttling. Make sure the device isn't under direct sunlight. My phone is getting hot. So that is what I have used for putting the mud on the walls. What are we doing? God, it's too hot, all right? We're getting heat stroke out here. So, you can use whatever you want. Use what you got, as long as it's not notched. Probably gonna make it more difficult, unless that's the pattern you want. I don't know. Okay, so, let me put you down a second. So, I don't have my really good tripod with me, unfortunately, and my laptop is fried, I'm pretty sure. So it's going to be even more difficult for me to like edit even simple videos together. I have some really cool time-lapse stuff on my camera and I can't like get it off basically because I don't have anywhere to put it because my laptop is MIA, or that's a problem for a future Beth. Probably in a few weeks I'll get it looked at. So we're doing it all on my phone, which is not ideal, but you're gonna get the idea of it and, you know, hopefully learn something, because this shit's not hard, okay? So you can see all my plaster buttons, and basically what I did is I went around along and I just pushed on the wall, and you could see where, I mean, I could feel it and see it even, where like the plaster would kind of have some flex to it, and it probably could do with maybe another dozen more or so, but I'm out of the length of screws that I would want to use, either 1.5 inch or 2 inch. This is 2 inch. So, and then all I have is like heavy duty exterior screws with me. Maybe, I don't know. You just blow through that stuff when you have an entire house that you are DIYing. So over here, especially, I think I would probably go all the way up the corner, potentially. I don't know. But that's okay, because we're not looking for perfection here. We're looking for making things better, because that is a motto that I'm trying to live by currently, is you can always come back and make it better. You just have to make it exist. And right now, like, this house isn't even livable. So right now we just have to make it exist as a livable property. And then we can go along and say, hey, we don't like how this is. Let's kind of tweak this or make it a little bit better. I don't think that that's going to happen with the walls. I think we're going to feel like it's 10 times better and it's going to stand up to the test of time, because plaster is really heavy duty and very, it's good at what it has done for hundreds of years. And I think if you take care of them and, you know, we've cleaned these up and filled holes and tried to not make it worse, I think that goes a long ways. And I think, I mean, hopefully this is the way to go. So the bottom here is a little bit more dusty than I would like, so I'm going to avoid that. But okay, so this is how we're going to do this. Don't get ahead of yourself, especially when you're just first doing this, of how much mixture you start with, because it's a lot easier when you're first getting going. Just plaster on my leg, just slopped all over me. It's fine. Okay. So, but as I've gotten better at it, I've actually found it easier to work with, like, my goodness, to work with like a bigger area. And it's really hot today, so I don't know. But basically, I'll get lower here. My trowels are a little dirty, which is maybe not ideal, but I mean, that's just where I go. But basically, I've been doing like half moons, arches, kind of. I don't know what. Yeah, like a semicircle type deal, and then I just go back over it at different angles. And basically, like, obviously where these plaster buttons are, I want it to be thicker, because that's gonna hide those much more effectively. And then basically, the things that's just my knuckles that I just rammed into this. That dummy. Basically, what I've learned is pressure is kind of the key. Okay, so maybe over here so you can really see. So, like, I put it on thicker at first, and then I go along and really get the, like, texture that I'm looking for, which is really just imperfect in general. And I think on this wall, like, yeah, it's gonna end up being a thicker texturing because of just how damaged it is and how many buttons I've had to put in. Up here, I basically haven't had to use any buttons except for this wall, because we've just been really lucky that it's in pretty good shape. So that is kind of how I've done it. And then like what I had read, this blog that honestly I'll have to link because I really liked her vibe and the shit she was talking about with this. That very in line with things that I've talked about of like, let's not be precious and gatekeepers about this shit because that doesn't help anybody, okay? Like literally, it does not. And if you think you're gonna rely on like being able to call a service person for every single thing forever, I think you're a fool. Not that I think like everything's gonna fall apart and it's the end of times or something. I think it's just like people not having skills to fix things themselves is a mistake. And I think not being able to pass those on to your children is also a mistake. Of like being able to repair a car, being able to fix a outlet or rewire a lamp or do some basic plumbing and shit is just like, again, this shit's not rocket science. And the more that you outsource all that stuff, the more you're gonna pay and the more you're gonna be a friggin' wage slave. Okay, guys? So that's some hot thoughts from Beth about that. So, okay, and then this blog that I was talking about, that she talked about a particular kind of style that she was going for of texturing, and she's done a bunch of it, was like, if you're not happy with like a certain area as you go, like just use your trowel and like do that really lightly, and then go over it like back and forth. And it really helps to like create more texture and potentially like not have like one area that's like super flat and another that's more, you know, more raised or whatever. So that is kind of how I've been doing it. I'm sure someone would be like, that's the wrong trowel to use. I just spit everywhere. Sorry. Or whatever the heck. You can't use a plastic one. Like, yeah, well, this cost me $5. I'm not spending $25 on a friggin' trowel, okay? I'm just not doing it, okay? Because I'm gonna throw this away. Just kidding. I have 2 of them. I will keep them because they wash up perfectly fine. It's fine, okay? So, but if I wanted to, I could throw it away and say, hey, you know what, I'm out? $5, okay? And in the grand scheme of what I need to be spending money on, it's not trowels, damn it. That is kind of how we have been doing this. I am so sorry. I left my good tripod somewhere else. It's at my house or I don't know. So that is how I have been doing it. I think it's been working out really well. I'm really, really pleased with this room. Me and my husband did half or so of the closet downstairs, but that one needed like a lot more attention than this room. This one had wallpaper, and then we peeled all the wallpaper off, and then I was like, okay, we have 1,000 holes to patch. How do we get this to not look ridiculous when we paint it? Because as soon as you paint it, you're gonna have these imperfections and just, that's really crumbly. Yeah, it's just gonna get more and more difficult to hide because of how many damn holes and cracks we had to fill. And that's what we ran into in the bedroom. And that's where I started with this. So my husband helped me, and I was like, hell yeah, this is going so well. And it's doing exactly what we needed to do, which is hiding imperfections. It's giving us a good base for then priming and painting, because we're priming this whole motherfucking house. We got the most hardcore primer that you can buy, because we have, there's just all kinds of shit we need to cover. There's different textures, different surfaces, there's wet areas, there's dry areas, there's areas where we're pretty sure there's like smoke damage. So that is what we did. We got the most intense primer. It's oil-based, which that will be a whole experience because I've never used oil-based anything other than stain, which is, you know, easy. So that's what we got. And adding this texture is just gonna give us a really, really good surface to prime and then paint. So, yeah, honestly, like, it's just that, yeah, I mean, it's so easy. I just go like up and down and then back and forth. And I really have not been like unhappy at all with how it has been going. I think it is just embracing what texture is, which is imperfection. I just like some crumbly bits. And getting the plaster in a state that is just, I mean, just better. And you know what? If you have some problem with how I'm doing this, I don't know. You can keep it yourself. How about that? You know what? Like the Bo Burnham, if y'all know who that is. What if any single person just shut the fuck up? Any one person at any time. What if you just shut up? Okay? What if you don't need to voice your particular opinion in this moment? Because it doesn't matter. Sorry. I know, it's like everyone's a special snowflake mentality, but that's how I feel. So, if you got a problem with how I'm doing this, make like a tree and leave. How about that? So, thanks for being patient with me, guys. Not having a laptop is kind of rough for editing and doing certain things with my YouTube channel because I also got a different phone and stuff. So there's some gritty stuff in there. Pick that out. So it's been much more difficult to get into my YouTube and really be able to like see what's going on and comments, etc. I mean, honestly, I just don't really have the time to do some of that stuff anymore, to be as involved with it, which, I mean, pros and cons, guys. Priorities. This is a priority. We want to move, and it's taking a lot of work to get there. It's just, you know, how it is right now. So, but yeah, thanks for being patient, and I promise, like, yeah, I want to have a website that's just all contained right there, where people can, you know, more directly, like, comment and stuff. You know, I think it'd be so cool to have, like, a wood carvers, like, group meetup or some shit. Like, I think that'd be awesome. I have no idea, yeah, like, where that would even happen or something. Maybe here on my acreage someday. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing with this other podcast guy that I listen to. It's Jack Spirko over at the Survival Podcast. He's awesome. And he and other people have posted kind of, it's like a permaculture days, or I can't remember what it's called exactly. I'll look it up. But it's really, really cool because you get like all these people who have like, you know, potentially kept connected online. They get to like go and like experience some of these really cool permaculture ideas, and then also just like, you know, meet each other and stuff. So that's really cool. Maybe there could be something like that for like woodcarvers or whatever. Anyway, okay, so there's some weird thoughts by Beth. Okay, so that's like a third of this wall. It's the smallest wall, so it won't take me that long. One last tip. If you start a wall, probably finish it, because it's hard to pick it up once it's dried. Like, there's gonna be almost like kind of an edge to it that it will be difficult to pick back up. So, yeah. So cool. I'm really, really excited that this has worked, and it's just making this, it made this room just feel so much better and cleaner. So that is some hot tips by Beth about plaster walls and texturing and drywall and all of that. I hope that you guys appreciate it. See, doesn't it look so much better? Yeah, I hope you guys appreciate it. I I hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for still checking in and, you know, subscribing and stuff, even though I've been very distracted, very MIA, and have a lot of things happening and going on. So, it's very hot. Yeah, I mean, stay groovy, everybody, and I'll catch you on the flippity flip out here at my project. More projects to come every day. Woo! Okay, so I have two things to add to this video today. I just forgot to kind of like clarify that the reason I got plaster was because I uncovered in this main bedroom after pulling down paneling that around the windows and doors there was a lot of missing plaster, like straight up just lathe. So that's why I was looking at like really repairing plaster walls, because I wasn't just texturing, I was needing to fill holes, like seriously, like major gaps down to the lathe. And it really was just around like windows, doors, and then some corners, which is just kind of it just makes sense because that's where like stress is, and yeah. But really the whole room, like around the baseboards and then windows and doors, is where there was the most damage. And I knew I would need to put in like multiple layers of whatever I was going to use. And that's why I was looking at like how to repair plaster. And that's what I was coming up with. So I was like, you gotta use plaster. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what I'll do. It wasn't just that I needed to kind of fix the walls and repair the texture of them. It was major holes that at this point, like I've done probably like 5-6 layers on the places where there was the most damage, because I had to get it up to like flush with the walls around the holes, which if you know anything about plastering and stuff, the more layers the better. You don't want to slap on a big heavy coat because it's just going to crack and not be as strong as doing multiple thin coats. So it's been like a really big undertaking, but honestly like so satisfying, and I cannot complain about tackling it because it has made like these rooms look so much better. And for, you know, I think we've spent, you know, 60 bucks basically, 75 bucks to do multiple rooms to repair all of the space around the windows and stuff like that. I really can't complain. And it's been like really fun to like figure out how to do it and then come back and like add more layers. And now I have like really great before and after pictures, and it's just like so satisfying. So that was the thing I wanted to clarify, that it wasn't just that I was texturing walls to hide holes and stuff, hide the repairs. It was I had like major repairs of like needing to fill in plaster around that down to the lathe. So that's one thing. And the second thing I have to complain about, I don't have to complain. The second thing is my plastic trowels. I like the one because I can scoop with it. I can like put it on, like I can like skim coat walls with it. I can do this texturing with it. It's really, I really like the shape of it. It has a good like hand feel. And the third thing is for amateurs, because I was a beginner amateur, and now I would say I'm like a moderate to like experienced person with Drywall Compound and texturing and stuff, because by the end of this I'll have done like 3 rooms and a hallway, so I'll be really good at it. Professional level. No. Is when I was initially filling in the gaps with the lathe, I kind of started just using my 5-inch like putty knife type of deal, whatever you would kind of call that, because I was a noob at it. So I think like trying to get like a big old 16-inch, sorry, there was a sheriff, I didn't want to get pulled over because I don't know, this is maybe frowned upon. Because yeah, I was a noob. I used just a 5-inch little knife to kind of like spread it up into the lathe, because you want to push it up through the gaps in the lathe, because that's how like plaster, they're called keys on the other side of the plaster, that forms when they push the plaster, like skim it up the lathe, because you go bottom to top. And I was just like struggling to kind of figure it out. Plaster, first of all, I was using the plaster and it was really difficult to work with. So I was just using the 5-inch little putty knife, and I kind of was getting further with that. And now as I've kind of like gotten used to like handling it, I use the 5-inch putty knife, and I use that big one. It's like 12 inches or something, and that's worked really well to kind of use both together, which is what I have seen kind of like professionals do, and kind of be able to work with both at the same time of like scraping one on the other. And that's just like experiences. Now I've done like an entire room and a half, so I kind of know what I need to do. And I've done all of this repairs of filling in the lathe with the plaster holes and stuff. So that's just a couple things that I like was thinking about it later, and I was like, wait, I have some more thoughts about maybe really clarifying what the heck I was talking about and why I chose to do things the way I did. And the only downside I've found to the plastic trowels is obviously the plastic over time. Especially with the rough plaster walls, it's kind of started to like damage the plastic. That's the only downside. But honestly, like I haven't had the plastic like come off in the mud or anything like that, so I don't think it's a big deal. I can definitely see the metal ones being like sturdier, like because when I've tried to like scoop a lot of mud, it obviously is not as strong. Plastic, duh. But that's really the only downside I've found to the plastic ones, and they're just like so cheap. Maybe in the future I'll be like, no, I gotta get a metal one. That's the way to go. But I just didn't really feel like spending like $20 on a stupid trowel. It just seemed dumb for being like a noob about it. And I'm about kind of dipping your toes in and then seeing how it goes and not spending, an exorbitant amount of money. So that's kind of the last couple thoughts I had about that stuff, and just really wanted to like stress that I wasn't just texturing. I had like repairs to be made, and that's a lot of stuff that like I did really want to like film that as I was getting into the repairs of that one room, but like it just was going really slowly and poorly with the plaster I was mixing and stuff, that I was like, I can't film this. It's just too clunky, because I'm trying to like puzzle it out and like figure out what the heck I need to do. But now that I have the drywall mud and that's going so much quicker, I wanted to like give you guys like a glimpse into how that's going and my thoughts about pros and cons of all this stuff. So hopefully this is all the things, and I have a whole room and maybe a hallway, stairwell kind of thing to do. We'll see if that even needs it. And then yeah. But it's a small room. It's compared to today's standards of how big houses are in rooms, it's a small room. So that won't take that long, and me and my husband will probably do it pretty quickly here on the weekend. So final thoughts, pros and cons, ups and downs. Plaster, thumbs down. Drywall mud, thumbs up.